Streamcast.
Hello and welcome to the Streamcast, your one-stop shop for everything gaming, and today we have a wild one for you. From Kotaku's Blacklist chickens coming home to roost to a troubled launch for Respawn and the CMA putting a kibosh on the Xbox Activision deal, there is a ton to unpack. This is the wrap-up. I am Blackamura. I'm joined by Hassan. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing good. The last few weeks have been incredibly spicy because I feel like it's been a year's worth of news in like such a tight like window. Like even since the last episode, like there's it's impossible to kind of cover everything. I had to cut like 8 other stories where I was like, it's just we can't right now.
This would be 3 hours otherwise.
Mhm. I can do it.
Ooh, I've done them once. Wouldn't recommend.
No.
But you are right. There's been so much news of varying degrees and sizes, but we're gonna try and cover the most important, the biggest flavors, and we're gonna head straight into the first one. Kotaku blacklisted by Nintendo following their leaks of Tears of the Kingdom. Leaks, tears. I see what they're going for here. Kotaku is the author of their own destruction.
It's so much worse than them have just released the leaks. They complained about the blacklisting and out of spite released the leaks. What?
You sure showed them.
Yeah, wow, like good job. You're unblacklisted now.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll go into what this actually means, and then we'll give our own flavors to how we feel. I think it's pretty obvious from the last 30 seconds, but basically, Kotaku are known for being a bit more edgy and controversial when it comes to gaming coverage. So they've been leaking spoilers for big games, especially the Nintendo titles, for a long time now. I think Metroid Dread is one of those back in 2021.
It's so much worse than leaks with Metroid Dread. They
Okay.
released, as the launch of Metroid Dread came out, they said, hey, Metroid Dread is on emulator and you can play it in 4K in the launch window.
Why would this is very TMZ. Like, sure, you're getting coverage, but
it's like every kind of professional decision that they could make, they went unprofessional, and it's insane. And like the the most telling thing, right, is the even this guy, Ethan Gatch, he's been in trouble with Nintendo kind of before, and like in one of his articles, he was like, "The Nintendo lawyers, please don't listen." It's like, if you have to write that, you're doing something wrong, right?
wow.
You understand fundamentally that you don't need to say that if everything is kosher, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like with this, they were explicitly saying this is how you emulate for free Nintendo's new game that's new.
Yeah. Literally the day of or the day after release.
Yeah, it was like very tight to the release window. Yeah, so let me read the tweet. It is preview day for Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, a huge game I would love for Kotaku to be able to inform its millions of readers about firsthand. Unfortunately, Nintendo still has it blacklisted from advanced coverage, it being Kotaku. A move I would argue is both unprofessional and coercive.
Wow.
Okay.
It's the pot and the kettle.
But like, the jokes aside, right, there is a serious kind of conversation about playing ball for codes, right? There's like a serious kind of conversation about like journalistic integrity to like, if you're given access, what strings comes with that access? Because like that is a very, very, very important question, and like for the longest time, it's not really one that's been brought up. There's a lot of stories about like reviewers and like outlets being blacklisted for bad reviews. Like that has happened. Like it's not the case here, and it is kind of insulting that this is the excuse that they're like using for the like for the consequences of their actions, because it's like at the end of the day, like Nintendo aren't saints, but it's insane to be like, I'm going to tell people to illegally steal your stuff, and I still want access. Like that don't make sense.
It is baffling, and I think it does just boil down to the fact that gaming is still poorly regulated.
Yeah.
There needs to be a conversation about etiquette when it comes to covering this kind of thing. You are basically reporters, you're journalists. You need to treat the people you're working with some sort of respect.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, you are, playing to the masses. You want coverage, you want the hits, etc. But you also need to respect the people who are going to be providing you with the resources, i.e., Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, Capcom. You need to be respectful, and basically promoting piracy of gaming is one of the worst things you can do if you want these early release codes, because on May 13th, what they're going to do is tell you that you can play Tears of the Kingdom on this crack PC here. That's not going to get you any favors with Nintendo. As you quite rightly said, Nintendo are not saints, but legally, they know what they're doing. They know how to toe the line. And hey, who am I to tell Nintendo what to do? I think they're completely fair and justified in their decision to blacklist Kotaku. I'm surprised it's taken them this long. We know how Nintendo deals with people who mess with their stuff, because there's a guy named Bowser out there who is never going to make a living wage again because he owes Nintendo so much money he can never pay it off.
Yeah, and that should be talked about. This is something we desperately need to talk about, because that kind of punitive measure is disgusting. Like, that's unacceptable. Like, you're putting someone in basically like wage prison for life. How is that the acceptable like outcome? But that still doesn't mean that you should be like, okay, hey, everyone go steal their stuff. Like, that both can be wrong, right?
Yes,
like,
yes.
The online discourse at the moment is there's a lot of people who are like, yes, Nintendo, smite them. Right? It's like, yeah, to a degree. And there's also the people who are like, Kotaku is this bastion of free speech and the readers like agency, and they're not. Post this tweet blowing up, Luke Plunkett, another senior person at Kotaku, released a racist image as a response, saying, "This is what I think of. This is what I think of the censorship." And it's a Japanese Imperial fighter jet, fighter, with swastikas and like kill confirmations on it. I think that's what it was. As it's like, this is what I think of censorship, and this isn't that far outside of what Kotaku does. This isn't a surprise to anyone. And Luke Plunkett did try to remove this from his Twitter, and he's locked down his Twitter, but it's archived. It's there. Yeah, like, kind of out of respect of like people who don't want to see this, like, we're not going to put it up. But
we're not going to put the insensitive imagery up. But I think we're also not going to shy away from the fact that gaming, especially white men in gaming, are so prone to doing stupid shit. We're going to put that on blast. We're not going to shy away from any topic here at Streamcast.
The only side for me, whenever I try to kind of like take a step back, is because for people who kind of are on the receiving end of racism, I'm not trying to slam your face into it, because that's unacceptable too, right? It's like, it's a repeating pattern, and Kotaku is not going to change. If they were going to change, they would have changed by now. And it
is literally TMZ of gaming. They want to be the first, whether it's ethical or not. That doesn't matter to them, as long as they're the first ones out with that news. they're getting the hits. That's what they care about. I have personally had an issue with the way they report and they come up with news articles for gaming, so I don't treat them as a serious site anymore. But this was of note because they posted Tears of the Kingdom spoilers, which is one of the most anticipated, if not the most anticipated game this year. And we're obviously not going to talk about the spoilers. Enjoy the game at your own time. It's just so out of left field, and for people to have to still skirt around these spoilers, I just think it's really disgusting.
Yeah.
You're ruining the experience of these, first time gamers who are going to play this game for the first time. It is akin to spoiling, these MCU movies and going, "Oh, this person dies," and it's awful.
It's just wholly unnecessary. Like that's the biggest kind of, that's the thing for me, right? That's the thing that's boggling me the most. It's, there is 1,000,001 games. If you've been snubbed here, review something else. There's other people, other developers, there's other publishers who will give you access. You're a huge like gaming outlet. Like it's
Better or worse.
you're not starved for access where you haven't starved yourself. Because like as you're saying, like with Team Z and them trying to be the first, like they got blacklisted by Ubisoft for leaking Assassin's Creed, like the Syndicate, I think it was, and Fallout 4 with Bethesda. Like they're still blacklisted by Bethesda.
Yeah. And it's that Seymour meme from Simpsons. It's the publishers who are wrong.
Yeah. There's a lot of not wanting to reap the consequences of their actions.
Also, I think there is a big difference between free speech and provocative speech, with the incentive to spark off controversy. If you know you're trolling, you cannot then complain that you're being punished for trolling, because that is the risk that you play. No, when you're doing comedy, you might get slapped up there. You run that risk, and you have to be very careful and be comfortable with the material that you're running.
You have to be comfortable with the consequences of your actions. Like, if for me, speaking up against racism is going to put me in a dangerous position, I'm going to be in a dangerous position because I'm going to speak up about racism, right? If I'm telling people to steal work, I need to be comfortable with the consequences of lawyers being involved or being removed from access from that company. Like, free speech doesn't remove you from the consequences of your speech, right? Like that's what it is.
Free
you
speech,
can't say it. And you did say it, Kotaku. I didn't say don't say it. I just said you're fucking around and you're gonna find out. Like,
that's right. And if you see this graph, the more that you fuck around, the more you will find out. I agree. So the consensus is fuck Kotaku. They have done this to themselves, which is a shame. But Luke Plunkett is a dickhead for that tweet because it's never that deep.
No, he was just being racist. Like he was knowingly, willingly being racist, and it's incredibly telling that he then hid his whole tweets and deleted everything.
What do you guys think? We'll leave that to you. Get in the comments. How do you feel about Kotaku being blacklisted? Do you care when games get spoiled? And will you be picking up Tears of the Kingdom? Before we get on with the rest of the podcast, I'd just like to give a special shout out to Spilt Milk Studios for their support over on Patreon. To find out how you can get a shout out just like them, make sure to go to patreon.com/Streamcast for more. From Tears of the Kingdom, we'll move on to games that have been very rusty in release, namely Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Now, we both have the game, courtesy of EA. Thank you very much for our copies. I've been playing on PS5. Hassan's been playing on PC. Would you like to go into your experience playing on PC, or would you like to go more into like the news of the rusty release?
I think we should finish with feelings.
Okay, yeah.
Take the bitter pill before we take the sweet pill. I think is the easier way this goes down.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. So I've seen this a lot with PC players, but there are also some PS5 players who have complained about bugs and a very stuttery performance. So EA did acknowledge this. They said, "Oh, we know that the game's not been performing well, but have you considered getting a worse performing PC?" So let me actually get the tweet from EA.
This is maybe one of my favorite tweets of all time.
This comes from. Sorry, go on.
It's such good spin. Like it really is such good spin.
It's very political.
Yeah, it's
This is a note from the Jedi team on the PC version of Star Wars Jedi Survivor. We are aware that Star Wars Jedi Survivor isn't performing to our standards for a percentage of our PC players, in particular those with high-end machines or certain specific configurations. For example, players using cutting-edge multi-threaded chipsets designed for Windows 11 were encountering problems on Windows 10, or high-end GPUs coupled with lower-performing CPUs also saw unexpected frame loss. Rest assured, we are working to address these cases quickly. While there is no single comprehensive solution for PC performance, the team has been working on fixes we believe will improve performance across a spectrum of configurations. We are committed to fixing these issues as soon as possible, but each patch requires significant testing to ensure we don't introduce new problems. Thanks for understanding and apologies to any of our players experiencing these issues. We will continue to monitor performance across all platforms and share update timing as soon as it is available. The Star Wars Jedi team. Well, that was so beautifully worded that I initially missed the fact that they were blaming the players.
Yeah, it's not us, it's your hardware. It's like it's bold. It's a bold statement. If it was localized to specific hardware, fine. Like, because you got to remember, right? The scale of difference between making a PC game and making like a console game. A console game, you make a console game, and it's going to differ from console to console, right? A PC is an ad hoc thing, which is like 4 different consoles.
Right.
It's a lot to program for. It's a lot to kind of port things over to. It's why they develop 2 consoles, like a lot of the time.
Yeah.
It's a lot more kind of like an intricate kind of work to do PC. That is fair, but it isn't an excuse, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree
because
with that.
it's not a surprise. Like these are the top echelon of developers. This shouldn't be like a new thing kind of people are stumbling into. Also, the other side is that the problems are happening across the board on PC. It's not localized to Windows 10 or 11. It's everyone.
Yeah.
And it's a crying shame. Like, I know for me, I've consistently had issues throughout my playthrough. That runs the gamut from loss of like frames in critical situations, causing like kind of instability and making you unable to like parry or like really react to combat, and it makes things a lot less in your hands and kind of just at the fate of RNG, and that's it's painful.
Yeah, that's never
Especially
fun.
when the game is so good. Like, that's the worst part of this. I'm gonna rightly complain, but I have to say Respawn did an amazing job. The story is phenomenal. The gameplay is phenomenal. The world is beautiful. Like the Metroidvania is intricate. It's bigger and better and a insanely good sequel from an insanely good like game. It's my favorite like Star Wars experience in a hot minute.
Yeah.
And it's mod. It's like painted with this like this tar, because every time I boot it up, I'm guaranteed to hard crash.
Yeah.
Every time. Like I will play for a while and then something will happen in a hard crash. Every time I go into an open area from an inside area, I lose frames. I lose stability. I lose like the buttery kind of smoothness that you'd expect from a AAA game. Especially from Respawn, who are amazing. Like I've never had like these kind of issues in a Respawn game ever. Yeah, it's a crying shame.
Yeah, it is. And the immediate comparison is Cyberpunk 2077, a game that, crashed basically every time people played it. And in the same vein, people will back that game and say, well, but it's an amazing game if you can get through it. Some people get turned off by that because I can't play through this. Other people are willing to fight through it because they know that, that game is worth it. I think it's doing a lot better than Redfall, because that is another game with a very similar performance upon release, and that's a game that you've been able to play, and we've been given codes. Thank you, Bethesda. But yeah, if we shift back to Star Wars, you've got a top tier developer in Respawn, you've got a top tier publisher in EA. They should be able to make this work, and it's not.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm the exception to that, because personally speaking, I've not seen any bugs or any performance issues. I have been streaming it. It is an amazing game, and I've put 3-4 hours into it so far. I can tell that this game's gonna be amazing. It's up
40.
there.
40
So I'm looking forward to playing it more. There will be more streams on it on our Twitch channel, Streamcast TV. But a lot of people who have played it on PS5, namely DMJ, our good friend, he has experienced a lot of bugs as well. So maybe I've just been lucky so far. Maybe the bugs are coming. But it does seem pretty worldwide that whether you're playing on console or PC, there is a stuttering performance, which is really a shame.
Yeah. I just want to say, like, if you're still on the fence about picking it up, I would absolutely recommend that you wait. The patches have been rolling out, and they have been implementing some changes, but it's not enough just yet. And not just enough for like a £70 game, because it's a £70 game.
Yeah,
this isn't a state that I can, in good faith, recommend this experience. And the other side is I don't really want people to ruin their experience at what could be Game of the Year. Like, if I hadn't experienced a lot of the issues in kind of like critical points, this absolutely would be in my Games of the Year. Like, this would be in the top 3 Games of the Year for me. It's that good. Like, when it sings, it sings. It's so nice. But it's interrupted, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that is exactly the Cyberpunk, conundrum.
Yeah.
A great game, but poor performance. For me, it is in my top 3 of the year so far. It's in my top 2, to be honest. It's Jedi Survivor and it's Wolong. Those are my games of the year so far. Amazing releases.
Not Redfall?
If we do that Razzies idea that you want to do, it might win that.
Okay. By the end of the year, I'm going to put together the best games and the worst games of the year. That we're gonna have an award show.
All right.
You heard it here first.
We'll try to get Destiny back on because she's dope.
Yes.
But yeah, I can only talk personally of my experience, and my experience has been perfect so far. I've loved the game. I cannot wait to finish it. I don't want to rush it though. It's been a
please rush it so I can talk about this game. I want to talk about this.
Oh, it's true. Okay, I mean, we'll probably do a 60-second and a 60-minute review. So yeah, I'll try to get it done. We'll see. But yeah, let us know in the comments what you feel about Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Have you picked up the game? I know I'd feel a type of way if I spent £70 on the game and it was crashing every time I played it. I would ask for a refund. But how has your experience been? Do you have the game on PC, PS5, Xbox? How's your experience been? Let us know. The answer lies in the heart of battle. And we'll wrap up this episode with the big news. The UK has blocked the Microsoft acquisition of Activision. This one is hefty. Would you like to break this one down for us, Hassan?
Yeah. So the biggest deal in gaming history has been put on pause for the moment. The CMA, the regulatory body in the UK that kind of looks at monopolies and kind of antitrust in particular, has said, very surprising to everyone, because of Xbox's market share in cloud gaming and kind of that side of like technology, this deal will effectively make competition difficult to impossible. And no one predicted it from that side. The conversation had been so geared towards Call of Duty since the
Yeah.
inception of this deal that no one had really kind of stopped to think, okay, the Xbox has such a huge chunk in cloud gaming, not just because of XPlay, but because of the other like launch pads that they've built in cloud gaming and in like internet based gaming. It's I don't know if it's the right decision, but it is an important thing for them to have like brought to bear, because this is the future of gaming, like in a huge way, like cloud gaming.
Yeah.
We can't ignore that. And the way that monopolies form is when things are small and not paid attention to, they're gobbled up by one thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so the CMA are doing the right thing. They absolutely are doing the right thing. But it is very spicy because now Activision Blizzard and the government themselves have made some petty statements back and forth. It's very funny. Yeah, do you want to?
Yeah. Oh, I would like to say first off, that's very interesting to say that you believe CMA are doing the right thing. I don't think I've heard a positive reaction to that, so that's very interesting. Of course, worldwide, Xbox fans have been upset, especially especially coupled with the Redfall release doing so badly. It's
Yeah.
the worst 1-2 if you're an Xbox fan, because they've
That's
been
me. Like,
they've been waving that flag for a long time. Redfall and
Mm.
Starfield have been, okay, this is it. We're gonna be back in the game. It's gonna be like the 360, and yeah, you get hit in the face once with Redfall, and then you get hit in the face again with the CMA blockage. This almost feels like a football deal. 70 billion pounds. I feel like Romana should be out here. there's no here we go. All the laws are being pulled into effect, and you are right, because Call of Duty was the main thing that you saw. Call of Duty this, Call of Duty that. PlayStation were using it. That was their trump card. But interestingly, they did not pull that card.
I just want to
Sorry,
say,
go
kind
ahead.
of as an Xbox fan, like I am, and I have a lot of biases. I have a lot of like kind of vested interest in wanting to see more things on Game Pass and things on Xbox specifically. I don't want Xbox to have a monopoly. Like, I don't want Microsoft to have a monopoly. That isn't good for the landscape for everyone. Like, that's the bottom line. So if a regulatory body steps in and says, "Hey, there's genuine concern," that's a good thing. So they can stop and look at it and kind of take the time necessary to look at it properly. Like, I don't think us as consumers should be like, "How dare you?" Because
I agree.
we don't. The only thing we gain is the possibility to spend more money in this
Yeah.
camp. Like,
Yeah.
which, yeah, it is what it is. I think them taking their time, and if the appeals go through, and if the appeals are granted, if there's capitulations that Xbox makes that allows the CMA to kind of rest easy, fantastic, because I want more games to Game Pass. Let's not get
Let's
twisted.
be real. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that, and yeah, you do raise a good point, and that's why consumers are not the judges.
Yes.
Because we don't know what we want. We know what we want, but we don't understand the ramifications of that necessarily.
What we
And
want isn't always the best thing for
yeah,
us.
yeah. Of course, instant generation. We want the thing that is left to us right now, and we might look back on that in 5 years and decide, oh, that wasn't really a good decision. Which is why maybe we'll look back on this decision by the CMA and work out that, hey, maybe this was the right thing. Someone needed to step in, and we have spoken about how gaming is poorly regulated. So this might be the wake up call that everyone needs. But there have been a ton of takes, namely the Prime Minister's spokesman going, Microsoft is wrong to say Activision deal block is bad for Britain. Those sorts of claims are not borne out by the facts.
Delicious.
In an interview with the BBC, Microsoft president Brad Smith said that the deal being blocked was probably the darkest day in 4 decades in Britain. The English Channel has never seemed wider.
I don't think that was a take that had that was heat at the moment. That was some heat at the moment tweeting.
Hey, I mean, let us know how you really feel. I'm down for this unprofessional behavior. I'm so sick and tired of, well, we'll see. No comment. We'll have to go to my lawyers. No, man, let us know. Let the feelings out.
Like, there's been like 3 wars in those 40 years, bro. Like,
no, this
I don't think that was the darkest day in Britain.
The darkest day. The fact that King will not be on Microsoft's payroll is the worst thing to ever happen. The fact that Call of Duty will not be on early access for Microsoft players is the worst thing to ever happen.
In a time where we're dealing with like institutional racism and like the cost of living crisis and the massive recession that we're like living through, and Corona and like the pandemic, and this is the worst.
We just got out of lockdown.
Literally a global pandemic. This is the worst thing to happen to Britain.
We just got permission to go outside again. But the fact that we can't do what we want. Right? It's what it is. What it is. When you're naturally the author in a lot of disaster in people's lives, you tend to lose focus and context as to what is a real disaster. So I get it from their point of view that they would think this is the worst thing ever.
For this deal, it's the worst day ever.
Yeah.
For Microsoft in 2023, it's the worst day ever. This is a huge deal. In gaming, this is a huge deal.
Yeah.
But that is a statement and a half.
Yeah. There's more to life than gaming, right? So I think to put that blanket term, darkest day in the last 4 decades for Britain is stupid, and that's the kindest thing I can say about it. I'm very
feel.
I'll get banned again. I am very much looking forward to seeing this battle between Microsoft and Activision and the UK government. I want to see this conclude in Hell in a Cell personally, but I want Rishi and Phil Spencer. Yeah, just throw back.
I'll put my money on Phil Spencer if they're still having a fight. No, if they're still having a fight, Rishi Sunak and Phil Spencer's gonna beat him up.
Phil Spencer knows how to fight. I put all my money on Phil.
Yeah. Phil's bad, man.
Phil knows what he's doing. But yeah, if you can see, like, who's it now? I think it's Tommy Fury and Liam Payne. They got a charity boxing match. You can have Rishi and Phil in the undercard. I would love to see that, and the winner gets the. The winner gets to decide whether this $7 billion deal goes ahead or not.
I mean, they were talking a lot of smack about how much damage this is doing to the UK. But if this brings back the nightly tradition of like duels, like for pleasure and profit, I'm kind of in.
I'm in just for the carnage because as someone who has no feeling either way towards Xbox, I like the carnage. I like the chaos. I obviously I don't see the necessary harm one way or another because I see that they want to get the games such as Call of Duty, and you got a lot more, but obviously Call of Duty is the big one on their roster. But at the same time, I do understand where the CMA are coming from. So I personally feel no way about this. But if this results in more bullets being thrown, metaphorically speaking, I'm down. I want to see this be messy. I want to see Real Housewives level drama. I want to see Jersey Shore level drama. I want no lawyers to be involved. No more spokespeople. I want this to be
You,
dealt with Twitter fingers.
like you say that, but like the last few years in court, we've had loot boxes defined as surprise mechanics. Like that happened. Like remember when in court the EA lawyer was like, "This is akin to Kinder eggs." That happened.
I remember.
So maybe we just broadcast the court, because the court is throwing some zingers. Like,
What we need is those meetings, those hearings, live streamed, available to consume on Twitch. That's what we need. Can you imagine the chat?
I can't have a legal proceeding sponsored by Monster. I can't do that.
It wouldn't be Monster. It'll be like C4 or something.
Oh,
come on, Hali, come on.
Gamer subs on the Activision.
And the judge's ruling is brought to you by Redfall.
Red Bull gives you legal wings. Red Bull, if you're listening,
hey,
I got you.
We're twerking for that partnership. Of course, from a consumer point of view, a lot of fans are angry. I think a lot of markets have already given the okay, so I don't know where this takes those fans. I think they're just going to focus on the negative relationship here. There was a statement, I think it says Activision are going to reassess their growth plans for the UK.
Yeah, that was one of the, I think that was Bobby Kotick. That was one of his heaters. I can be wrong.
Ooh, that's a statement.
Don't quote me on that.
Microsoft would look hard at the role of the CMA and the regulatory structure in the UK in light of this decision, which has left people's confidence in technology in the UK severely shaken. Wow, overreact much. The CMA's report contradicts the ambitions of the UK to become an attractive country to build technology businesses. Activision will work aggressively with Microsoft to reverse this on appeal. Whew. The report's conclusions are a disservice to UK citizens who face increasingly dire economic prospects. I mean, that seems like a reference to Cozy Lives right there. But I also don't like that they think that their answer to Cozy Lives is the 70 billion deal going ahead. So
are they going to tax it? Because we've seen how the UK government currently taxes, which is not good. It's not looking good, bruv.
It's not looking good, bruv.
Big man thing, yeah. It's not looking good, bruv. It's not looking good.
Yeah, I just there's so much hyperbole here, and I feel like the hyperbole is on purpose. It's meant to be big. It's meant to be bombastic. It's meant to be inflammatory, so that they can then step backwards and kind of work through it and be like, okay, we're not here anymore. We're coming to you in good faith and kind of meeting in the middle, right?
Yeah,
which is already insane. But yeah, like there's a lot of people who are saying like the deal, like, and the kind of this process is going to take months or years, and we'll see. I just want, like, for the most part, I want this deal to kind of give us a new Activision Blizzard and kind of step away from the current state that Activision Blizzard is in now, because it's untenable. They are losing like staff hand over fist through the abusive nature of a lot of their like practices and a lot of the management, and we need to see that change. Just for the games industry as a whole, that needs to change, and there needs to be like the ball rolling there. And with management and kind of the leadership now, it's not going to. No. That's my only hope from this deal.
Yeah, that was my first take when I first heard of the news. As long as they get Kotick out there, I'm happy. That is still how I feel, because it is embarrassingly bad for those practices to be made public and for no real action to be made.
Yeah.
We'll see, because I think this decision this deal, I should say, whether it gets blocked or not, is going to cause shockwaves one way or the other. It's a big deal. It's not going to be looked at the same like the gaming industry as a result. And I think for me personally, I think the UK CMA is going to hold on to this decision. I'm sure that Microsoft and Activision are going to appeal. They're going to do the best they can. But I don't feel that the CMA are going to change their mind. So I would like to see what that means for Activision, Microsoft, and the UK.
I'm kind of the other side of that. I think they are going to change, but it's going to take capitulation. And they've said in a few different documents that Microsoft have been a very fairly kind of like flexible with the CMA and the CMA's demands. It just hasn't been enough for them. So it could be one of those things that like wraps up faster than you expect, or it could take years. Like things with like on a legal front like this, it's hard to kind of like really keep like have a guess of. There's a YouTube channel called Hoag's Law who do a lot of like gaming law specific stuff, and they've been covering this extensively. And honestly, it's fascinating seeing it from a lawyer's perspective. Highly recommend checking them out.
All right, we'll do. We'll put a link in the description, and I think we'll wrap it up there. So you have Hassan's point of view where he feels that the UK CMA are going to change their mind and let the deal go through. You have my point of view where I feel that the CMA are going to be stubborn, put their foot down and block the deal. Where do you stand? Put it in the comments. Where do you feel this deal is going? Will it be blocked in the UK after all, or will there be a change of heart? And I'd like to thank you all for watching, listening to this episode. It's always a pleasure to sit down and record with Hassan. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/streamcast. If you're watching us on there, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and tap the bell so you get all of our videos as soon as they go live. We are on every podcasting platform, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So just search Streamcast and follow. We are on Twitch, twitch.tv/Streamcast TV, where we stream every weeknight from 9 p.m. UK time, and we're very close to 500 followers. Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, Streamcast_, and our website, thestreamcast.co.uk, where you can find out more about us, read our blogs, and check out our next event. We just had Pokemon Day out. Shout out to Pastor Salt for winning. The True King. Shout out to CM Gamer for walking away with Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, courtesy of Nintendo UK. And shout out to Loading Bar for having us. Shout out to Shogun Ash as well for recording that excellent promo for us. And thank you to everyone who came. We really do appreciate you. The next one should be coming out soon. Keep an eye on the socials for that. Well, until then, please take care of yourselves and your loved ones. Stay safe, and we'll see you on the next Streamcast. Wrong button. Whoops.